welcome back to BunsoBytes. I'm your host, Ami43.
I'm your co-host, Shiggy.
And on today's episode, we have a special guest.
What is up, everybody? It's Mike Mills. That's all I was going to say.
Okay. First and foremost, thank you, Mikey, for joining us on our podcast. If you do not know, Mikey is also he's a YouTuber, so we will leave his links and everything down below. He does vlogs, lots of content about his work, lots of fun and interesting things. He likes to do a lot of talking to camera, so if you're interested in that, please feel free to give him a follow. Also, Mikey and Chiggy are childhood friends, so they've known each other for a hot minute, so to speak. And
15 years, I guess.
Yuck.
More than that, actually. More than that.
At least.
Yeah.
Wow. Crazy. So definitely some history here, but on today's episode, because since Mikey does do a lot of career talk and career content for his channel, we wanted to kind of rewind the clock for us and talk about the different jobs that we had before we had our current big kid jobs, so to speak. In previous episodes, Chiki and I have talked about how, we've had an assortment of different jobs before we got the jobs that we have now, and we are very, very grateful. And like I said, we wanted to bring Mikey in on this just so that we can show that everyone's career path is definitely very, very different, and don't always, you never really know. Life can throw you some crazy curveballs sometimes.
Oh, of course.
So, but yeah, why don't you... Oh, well, actually, I totally forgot. Weekly update.
Sure.
Chiggy, what's your weekly update for this week?
So my weekly update has to deal with work.
Mm-hmm.
We did a work episode fairly recently.
Yes.
And work's got me working overtime.
Oof.
So far, I've worked a 12-hour day and then a 11-hour day. So
it has been gnarly, y'all.
It's pretty bad, and it's gonna only continue to go on for probably another couple of weeks, if not 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, Chiggy is going through transitions at work, but not just at work with the people at work, but also with his actual work. So the overtime is, I guess, needed.
It's always needed.
It's always needed.
Yeah.
More money is always needed.
I mean, yeah, that's true. Mikey, do you have anything you'd like to add to weekly update?
I mean,
anything fun happened to you this week?
This week, nothing fun's happening to me for real. More of future talk for me. Got class, yeah. Class, so I can upgrade. That's all. That's really...
things to look forward to.
Yes, things to look forward to for myself. But everybody cross your fingers that I pass all the classes. You know what I'm saying? Let's make sure I pass these classes. I want to upgrade.
You done came here for nothing. You failed.
Yeah, I came home for nothing. I might as well just sat back on the ship.
For context, if you don't know, Mikey is, I was about to say, what's your official title? Merchant
Mariner.
Merchant Mariner.
Merchant Seaman, Merchant Mariner.
Yeah. So he's away a lot, but when he's at home, obviously, we hang out with him, and he was so gracious to accept and spend time with us for the podcast.
Bestow you with my presence.
Yeah.
How'd your week go?
My week has been going really, really well. I have been adjusting to a new work schedule, and I get off work earlier, which is really, really nice. I think it has given me... It also helps that the sun is out a lot more.
Yeah.
Springtime is coming, and the weather's getting a lot warmer. But I think the biggest update that I have is that I have one more venue tour to do, and that's happening tomorrow, actually. And hopefully, that will be maybe the last one before Chiggy and I decided where we're actually going to have our wedding reception. So fingers crossed, it's a good one. It's been a journey, and trying to get it done with so little time has been stressful. But I will say, all the vendors have been very, very kind, and I've only had good experiences. It's just stressful because I feel like we have to make the decision now, and I'm also just not ready because I'm I wish we had more time to just, I don't know, figure it out. So got to make a decision soon.
How early in advance do you have to make a decision?
So for
isn't
venues,
it next year?
Yeah.
Oh, venue, yeah.
Venues.
Is
it anywhere from, if you're at 9 months, which we're at about right now, you're pushing it. generally you want to book your venue about a year out. I did not have that option, but
Why?
because he proposed to me later than expected.
Y'all are doing a winter wedding, like January, February?
Looking at next winter, yeah.
Really give her like less than 11 months.
Yeah, so
Just push it to summertime.
we're trying not to sweat. That's just just trying to be a little practical. Living on we don't want the humid, if anything.
I feel you. Destination weddings always exist. That was a joke. Don't do that. That was a joke.
No, so and I will say, for all intents and purposes, I don't think we'll necessarily have a problem with booking. All the venues have our date and have dates around our date. Like, it's flexible in that sense. The problem is, if I wait longer, obviously that window starts to shrink, and it can shrink very quickly.
Oh, okay.
I want to say it happened to one of my friends, not a mutual, like it wasn't a wedding that Chiggy and I went to together, but one of my friends, she was set on this place, but then they were kind of trying to save a little bit of money so that they can put more down towards the payment. And in the time that they were trying to save that money, it got booked out, and not just booked out for their date, but the whole week of what they had planned or what they were hoping. So it's kind of one of those things that's like, the earlier you can book it and get it done, or at least have the big part of it taken care of, it'll be a lot easier. So
okay.
But yeah, one more venue tomorrow. I'm excited. It's a very quirky venue. It's a venue that I don't know, but I want to see it because I don't know. It could be really, really great. We don't know. So that's for tomorrow. And yeah, that's my weekly update. But anyways, back to the actual topic, as we were saying earlier in our very wonky intro. But as we were saying earlier in our intro, we because Mikey's here, we wanted to talk about our early career jobs and decisions and the things that we did to get to where we are now. As the three of us, we all, for all intents and purposes, are thriving and in our own ways, and we have very stable careers. So I guess let's start from the very beginning. What was everyone's first job?
All right, so my first job was at Tropical Smoothie.
Woot woot.
And this was right after high school.
Okay, so you didn't work in high school. It was after high school.
Right, so for me it would be around 2004, 2005.
Wow.
Damn.
I'm not putting years on this. I'm telling you that right now.
Yeah, and my starting wage there was $5.75.
Bro.
Yeah, facts. 2004 and 5. Yeah, that sounds about right.
That's how it was back then, for sure.
2004 and 5. I think I just started 9th grade.
Yeah. So since you started after high school, did you start, like, was this full time? Was this part time?
This was definitely part time.
Part time? I
mean, you're working in the food industry,
right?
Unless you're a cook or a manager or something like that. Of course, it's gonna be part time.
Right. And first of all, why Tropical Smoothie, and or how did you end up getting that as your first job?
So, the Tropical Smoothie that I went to had some other church people that worked there as well.
Okay.
And so they knew the managers. They were really close with them. They were like, "Oh, we have a recommendation of someone who would like to work here."
Right.
They let me know about it. Gave me the application, filled it out. It got an interview like maybe the next day, and then interviewed, and they gave me the job on the spot.
Yeah.
Facts.
So,
that's how it was back then. You could literally get hired on the spot. It's true.
Right. And so actually, after they left the company, I stayed there for a bit. I even hired on a couple of my friends to work there as well. So it was
networking.
It was like networking, just pass along the torch.
Okay, yeah. So friends of friends, networking. That's generally how it goes, especially at that age. I feel like it's a lot easier, and it's not that you can't get a job anywhere else, but it's just a lot easier if your friend's already there and you're kind of just like, can you just put a good word in for me?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. What about you? Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, just any type of work that you're trying to get into, like without any help, it's so hard. Back then, now, in the future, it's gonna be like that forever.
Yeah.
So unless you have the networking where someone of someone, that's how you get your foot through the door. So Yeah, it worked out for me.
Yeah. What about you, Mike? It was your first job.
The first job, officially, I worked at Dunkin' Donuts first.
Let's go.
For like literally, I think it was like 2 weeks at that. And
Why was it 2 weeks?
Literally, and then they laid me off because I think what happened was that Dunkin' Donuts got really busy because there used to be a Burger King right next to it, but the Burger King was under construction.
Okay.
So I guess they got all of the Burger King breakfast rush
customers
right. Or whatever, and then they was like, I just need a job. So I walked in, asked for a job. They said, yeah, we're hiring right now. Did an interview that day. Then they was like, they scheduled me not the next day, but the day after. And I was like, okay, cool.
Let's go.
So I was working I was like, dang, it's my first job. This is lit. I was there for like 2.5, I think it was literally 2.5 weeks. And then they just stopped putting me on the schedule. Or they dropped me to like one day. And I was like, what the? And I was like, dang, I do anything wrong, blah, blah. And they was like, no, you did nothing wrong. We're just changing the schedule around. And next thing I know, I was not on the schedule at all. And I was like, what the?
Straight up.
Yeah, just straight up. And then I remember going back, I was like, hey, am I honest? It was like, oh, yeah, we had to let you go, blah, blah. And I was like, dang. But like I said,
they didn't tell you
they
that?
They really didn't say anything. It was crazy.
That's
and mind you, I'm
horrible.
I'm like, yo, what the heck? And mind you, it's my first job.
Right, like what did I do?
Yeah, and I'm like, I swear I was doing everything right. Don't get me wrong. It was obviously customer service based. But yeah, I was like Dunkin' Donuts. So I was like, oh, well.
How old were you when you had this job?
I think I was like 19. I don't know,
Yeah.
Like 18, 19,
still,
something like that.
Still a bebe.
Yeah, and then...
I mean, I was the same age, too, when I got my first job.
Yeah.
Then after that, I think I worked for this guy cutting grass for a little bit.
Oh.
And
then,
which was cool. Like
a small business type thing?
Yeah, he had a small little business where he would go around cutting grass. And my mom knew him I'm not sure how she knew him, but she was the one that introduced me to him. And then I would drive to his house every morning. Like, I would have to leave at like 6 in the morning, go to his house. And then we would go around cutting grass everywhere. And then eventually, I think I got my first bill from good old Sally Mae. And I was like, oh, yeah, this isn't going to cut it. So I quit his job. I quit after a little. But then I got a job at, I think, that the fun park place or whatever. The carnival place over at the oceanfront. And then I worked there for a little bit for like a summertime.
Okay. What did you do at the fun park?
First, I was a funnel cake guy, which was cool. And then they moved me to one of the rides. I think it's called a paratrooper. It's just, you know.
Wait, so you was like actually making funnel cake? Straight up?
Yeah, literally making funnel cake. I mean, it was cool, but it sucked, dude. Like, it was cool at first, but then like it would get so busy.
Yeah.
And then the thing, it wouldn't even be that big of a deal if they had a proper cash register, but it would be like a little box, and like they would give me but so many ones, so many fives and tens.
So much.
And then when a whole bunch of customers would come in, and then they would give me like, hey, here's a 20. Mind you, the funnel cake's only at $5.
Oh, snap.
So I'm like, okay.
How do I make change?
I need to make change and stuff like that. And then I would have to be like, okay, I ran out of all like ones. This guy gave me like 3 fives or something like that, like $15. I'm like, okay, I need to break this, but I only have like a couple ones and like 3 fives. So I'm like, okay, hey, what are you getting? Okay, I'm gonna get you. Can I get your cash?
Oh, seriously, you going to
yeah,
do
and I'm like, yo, this is a headache, dog. Yeah.
Oh my god.
And then after a while, I got out of there, and they started putting me at the that was when I was doing the rides. So I started the paratrooper, and that was cool. And then after a while, I just didn't go back. I got the job at Chick-fil-A, and then from there to Farm Fresh, then Farm Fresh to where I'm at now. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, we only asked you your first job.
I know. I'll give it because I'm just thinking about everything.
He's like,
and I'm
just
like,
going down the
just go
timeline.
down the timeline real quick, you know.
What an illustrious career. No, but I love the diversity because you started out in fast food. I mean, obviously generally customer service. Yeah.
It was all customer service. Yeah.
And then but then you also did something fun. Like you did the fun park. That's different.
Yeah.
Actually, question about the fun park. So with I genuinely don't know how this works with rides. Do you actually like turn it on and like or control it
there,
or?
Yeah, 100%. The one ride that I was doing, I don't even know if it's still there. I haven't been back.
I don't think it's open anymore. Is it?
Oh, is it? I don't know.
Yeah.
I know it closes. It closes during the wintertime. It opens up during the summertime. So if you don't go to Oceanfront during the summertime, you wouldn't know if it's open or not. But it was crazy because I actually like me, my brother, and a group of us, we were like the first people there. We was building the place. So like we
Wow.
was helping putting the rides in, like the big Ferris wheel. I mean, obviously we didn't build the Ferris wheel, but we helped like set up the stage
Right,
and everything.
right.
And then some of the other rides we actually physically built. It was crazy. It wasn't so much crazy. It was just like, dang, like this is. Every time I would walk by it, like years later, every time I would walk by, I'm like, yo, this is. Here
I did
because-
that.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? See that
I
right
did
there?
that.
I did that, yo, for real.
Y'all wouldn't know what this was without me.
I
That's
got that
awesome.
job through my aunt. I remember that. Mm-hmm. That was, like you said, it was actually pretty lit. Now I think about like, cause it was, you wouldn't get paid any overtime, but you can work as much hours as you want.
Okay.
So like, I would get, I don't know, I'm pretty sure I was minimum wage, maybe $8 an hour, something like that at the time.
We're about the same age, so yes, it's
Yeah.
about $8 or $9.
Well, I mean, minimum wage was like $7.25 at the time, but I was making maybe
Yeah.
maybe $8.25 or something, like whatever it was. And then, but the way it was, there was no overtime, but you can work as much hours as you want, and they'll put it on the check.
So how many hours would you average?
I mean, me in the very beginning, I was working like 12-hour days, 7 days a week.
Straight up.
Yeah, and then them checks were crazy. Actually, and you get paid every week, so I'm like, dang, this is actually pretty dope.
I got money. Yeah.
I was like, this is actually pretty dope. And then eventually, I was like, man, okay, this is dumb. You know what I'm saying? I'm not doing this no more. After a little bit, but I mean, I met a lot of like cool people. That was lit. Like a lot of what I noticed, a lot of people from like, what was it like, Turkey, Bulgaria. Like they would come here
because
to
it's
get a
very
job.
touristy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they'll
yeah,
come here
yeah.
and get a job, and they'll work like in the general area. So I worked with a lot of, I think she was like a couple people. They were like Turkish, and then we were cool. I still talk to one of them now. And then, imagine this is like 10, 11. How old am I? This is
How
like,
old are you?
This is like 14 years ago.
A
'Cause I was
while
like
ago, yeah.
12 or 12. I was 20. Not even. I was like 19 when I was working there. So it's like 15 years ago.
Yeah, after your
Yeah.
2-week stint at Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah, after 2 weeks stint at Dunkin' Donuts, and then after that was Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, but it's true. Like I had a job at the oceanfront as well, and a couple of my coworkers, they were Turkish.
Mm.
Yeah,
They would tell me like, hey, we're going back at so and so date, and if we come back and you know you're still here, we'll bring you back something, and like. They're pretty cool. It's kind of hard for them to speak and understand their English sometimes.
Right.
But I mean, they're very friendly. They share whatever they have, even though they have a little bit, they'll still share it.
That's
Yeah.
nice.
But yeah, they're pretty cool people.
I wonder why hyper specific, at least across your two experiences, why hyper specifically Turkey? I haven't
I don't
heard
know
of that.
either. It was, yeah, I don't know either. Because every person that I've met that I worked with around here was, I mean, that's obviously a foreigner, was like Turkish.
Yeah.
Maybe, no, I'm pretty sure they were all Turkish, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean, there's always something like there's always like the reason why there's a bunch of Filipino nurses is because there was a law back in not a law, but like there was like a thing back in the day where they were promoting Filipino nationals. Oh, come to the States and you can be a nurse, and so that's why everyone's a nurse now.
Citizenship,
That's
yeah.
very true. Because
That's true.
even when I was a teacher, there's a lot of Filipinos that are math teachers because they were literally brought in from the Philippines
As
to work as a
yeah,
math teacher.
specifically, yeah.
That makes sense.
Very
That
true.
makes sense. Pretty sure same thing with the military. That's why a lot. I mean, they literally have a Filipino mafia in the Navy,
Bro.
and then especially with my company, like the Filipino mafia is like OD. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying with MSC, OD, bro. Yeah.
crazy.
So, how about you? What was your first job? Even though I already know what it is, because we were laughing about it earlier.
What was your first job?
My first job that we were laughing about earlier.
Yeah,
What was your first job?
I thought my first job was Dunkin' Donuts. That's why I'm.
exactly.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because Mikey's first job
So it was also Dunkin' Donuts. Yeah.
Really? That's
I was like,
crazy.
why were we laughing earlier? Sorry. No, yeah, I did. I actually did work at Dunkin', because it was the first place that responded the quickest. I like applied to different places
Yeah.
that were within driving distance of either the house, school, or the chapel. Like that was just kind of like what's like within this area that wouldn't be a stretch for either myself or
Yeah.
for me to get a ride to. And so, yeah, I worked at Dunkin' for a little bit. And then
How old were you when you worked there?
I think I started in college, not because I wanted to start in high school, but then where I lived and where my high school was, by the time I like would make it back to like my side of town, it was already late, and then curfew stuff, homework stuff. So it never worked out in high school. But then when it was college and I could dictate my like schedule, we were like, okay. And then at that point I started paying for my car. So
Okay.
my parents were like, well, you need a job to pay for your car, obviously.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, cool. Got Dunkin', and it was probably just for a couple of months. And it's not that I disliked the job. I just got a more kind of similar to you, where I got a job at a grocery store after, but my job at the grocery store, I had set shifts and schedule. Versus at Dunkin', it was just kind of like every week it was different. And then I dictated my school schedule around it, and it worked out. And I ended up, I worked at that grocery store pretty much up until even after I graduated college. That was like my job. So I worked at a grocery store called Winn-Dixie. I don't think they exist anymore, or if they do, they got bankrupt a couple years back. They're bought out.
I swore I saw one not that long ago, but maybe
I was about to say, I think there a couple regional stores still exist, but definitely like they've been bought out a bunch of times at this point, and I keep getting letters about the bankruptcy, and I'm like, I'm good. Like I don't really. But yeah, it started as my part-time job. I became full-time, I think my senior year, just because like I could fit 40 hours despite the fact that I was a full-time student.
Yeah.
And then that turned into, I became a lead, and then I got a like kind of not quite a manager position, but like a sub-manager position. And I like transferred store, like it was a whole thing. And I was like, well, I have a full-time job. It wasn't the greatest job, but I had a full-time job right out of college. And I was like, okay. And then I had my degree, so I was like, okay. And I was hoping that it would turn into something. It ended up not, but not for no like ill will against it. Just kind of didn't work out. But yeah, I was a pricing manager, so I was the girly that manually flipped tags every week. I was really, really good at it, I'll tell you that much.
Dang.
Yeah, I held the record in my region for flipping my store in like I could do it in 6 hours when most other people did it in 8. But I think that was just because all the other pricing managers were like 40 or 50 years old, and I was 19, 20 years old. Like I had energy. I was like, this isn't a hard job, guys. But yeah, so that was my Winn-Dixie kind of carried me through a lot of my young adulthood. And then I had a couple other odd jobs here and there. So like I did a stint at a local coffee shop for a little bit. I did a lot of contract work because I was trying for social media and communications, which is what my degree is in. So like and all of those jobs were either, and this will be the running theme, all those jobs were like friends of friends being like, hey, I need this, or like I knew someone who knew someone. I worked at a news station for like 6 months working on an app, but that was because my dad worked at that news station. Like it was not of any merit of my own. I mean, I worked hard obviously, but it was just kind of like, okay. So that's the I find that that's the running theme in all of our stories, is we all kind of had jobs because someone knew someone who knew someone.
Literally.
Which, if you don't know, is called networking. But Chiggy, I guess, I mean, you only talked about your first job, but how, as your career progressed, how did networking, as I brought it up, how did networking affect the direction that your career went?
Well, so after I quit Tropical Smoothie, of course I needed to find another job, and I was in college, and so I needed to spend some time working to, make money.
Right.
Although, like, my parents, they paid for my schooling, I still had to, pay for my own food and sometimes my books and stuff.
Like
so
living stuff.
I needed a job.
Yeah.
And so, of course, networking helped me get my second job, which was at Geico, because there were 3 of my church friends who were in a program at the high school that would, they would do co-op, and they would go to school at the beginning of the day, and then they would go to work. And then
In high school?
in high school, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, so they had cars, they would drive themselves, and then, you know, they'd go to work. And so I got a job there, and for some reason, like, I only applied to one place, and I managed to get it. So, like, I never...
It just worked out
It
that
just
way.
worked out that way. That's insane. My life did never worked out that way.
So that was my second job, and that was only the second time I ever applied to a job.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked there for 6 months, doing one thing, and then I made a lateral movement internally, and worked there for another year and some change. And that got me through a big part of my college years.
Okay. Okay. So this is still college time. Gotcha.
Yeah. And then I started noticing that my grades were falling because I was working full-time work, full-time church, and then, no sleep. So
Were you a full-time student as well?
Yeah.
Wow.
So for me, it didn't work out. So I had to drop work.
You had to drop something. Had to give. Yeah.
So I dropped work and focused on school. And then when I finally graduated, then I applied again at other jobs, which is also wrong again.
Oh.
Because towards the last year of my college years, I also applied at the public school system.
Right.
Yeah, I remember
so
those
I was a
days.
substitute teacher.
Chiggy was a math teacher, y'all. Straight
I
up.
remember those days, dude.
So, I actually did sub for some classes when I had some time, but I also had to do my final semester at a high school doing teaching because I was also a math teacher.
That's part of the curriculum, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so after the school year ended, or for college, I did continue on substitute teaching with another school, and I thought I was going to get the job there, but I didn't. And I got a job back at my old high school.
Oh, yeah.
And so I worked there for a bit and then ended up quitting that. So,
Can I just say, so Chiggy and I have been this is a side tangent, I just want to add it, but Chiggy and I have been dating for 5, 6 years, whatever.
6+.
6+ years. We've been dating, and I would say for the first at least 3 to 4 years, every 2 months, without fail, we would go to a restaurant, we would go to a fast food place, we would go to a random store, and we'd run into adults now that would recognize him and be like, "Are you Mr. And in my head, I'm just standing, I have no idea who these people are. And I'm just like, this is the most surreal thing ever, because he would get recognized by the most random people. And the crazy part is, Chiggy would know their name every single time. Not only would he know their name, he would know stories about them. I remember one time we ran into a cashier at Five Guys, and he told me the kid's whole love story, from fresh. And I was like, how do you remember and know this? And he's just like, you just know as a teacher. It's the craziest thing. But kudos to you for still being able to remember all of your students.
All of your students.
Yeah.
I don't remember nobody.
I was about to say,
I don't remember nobody from high school. Nothing.
Yeah, I don't remember my classmates. I kind of remember my teachers, but only the ones that I liked. And it's just it's crazy that for the first at least 3 years, every couple of months, just on cue, we'd run into some random student who would recognize him. And then as soon as Chiggy and I get back to the car, he'll tell me the whole story. And I'm like, okay, good to know. Anyways, I did not mean to interrupt you. I'm so sorry.
I don't remember what I was going to say now.
Sorry. But for you, so all of those odd jobs that you had before you got your MSc job. Well, first of all, did you know from the beginning that you were going to join MSc? Was that always the
MSc? No, I know I was going to be a merchant mariner.
Oh, the job itself. Okay, yeah.
The career path I was going to go for sure, but just not the specific company. Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry, I did not mean to drop the company rather than the job name. Yeah. I see what you're saying. So you always knew that you wanted to do, or that you were planning.
I didn't always know, but there was a certain point I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. You know what I'm saying? Because my dad, he was the first person to tell me about it, but I didn't think nothing of it when he was telling me, because I don't know if my brain just didn't process what he was doing.
You were a child and he was an adult. Yeah.
So I don't know if it didn't process what he was doing or whatever, but
Right.
it wasn't until somebody else was like, "Hey, they're trying to do it." You know what I'm talking about?
You did it with a friend? Like you signed
Yeah,
up
you know
with a
what I'm talking
friend?
about? No, somebody else was gonna be doing it, and then he never did it. You know what I'm saying? He never did
Really?
any of the application. I did.
Oh.
And then I ended up like the whole process of getting like all the credentials I need. And then I remember I was like messing around because I didn't really want to leave. And I was like, I know you had to take a drug test. So I was like,
Oh, you have to be clean. Yeah,
yeah, to be clean. But my dumb self, I knew I should have known better. But it was just a urinalysis, right? And myself, because I asked the other individual if they were doing a hair follicle test, right?
Okay.
And that's supposed to be technically 3 years or whatever the situation is.
Oh.
If it's true or not, I don't know. And then before I can go take the urinalysis,
Right. Take the test.
So
yeah,
I really was messing around for like a year. And then my dad was like, "What are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
you haven't got any of the paperwork. You haven't done anything." One day I asked him again. I was like, "Hey, do they do hair follicles?" He was like, "Oh, no, they don't do that. They just do the regular." I'm like, "Dude, you made me waste a whole year."
Oh.
Like a whole year, dude. Like,
I love that you blame it on them instead of
I mean,
yourself for
it's-
actually checking.
but it was like because I'm assuming you said you went to go do it, so I'm gonna take your word for it. Like,
Right,
just
yeah,
like
yeah,
you
yeah.
know what I'm saying. I'm like, okay, this blah blah, and after that, I was like, okay, so I can go take everything. So I did went and got all the credentials, did a urinalysis, did everything, and then once I had everything in hand, the job was open. I applied, didn't get it the first time.
Oh, really? I didn't know this.
Applied again, didn't get it the second time. But they was all like windows. Like it was like, okay, it was open May, closed in May.
Oh.
Open again in July, closed in July. Then open again open in June, closed in June. Then open in July. I got that one. And then I found out, I had their urinalysis.
Yeah.
Or I had their interview in July, did their interview in August. Then I found out I got it in September. But then there was like, because they still had to do a whole.
That's like almost 6 months at that point.
Yeah,
like you
yeah,
applying and back and forth.
So I applied 3 times.
Okay.
Like, so that was May, applied in June, and then applied in July. And then I got it in July. Well, they told me I got it in August. Did all the drug tests.
All the
and everything.
processing,
all the
yeah,
processing.
yeah.
And then the actual orientation didn't start until January 2015.
Oh,
and
wow.
then from there, here we are now. So.
So, like, even though you waited that whole year, you pretty much had to wait a whole other year
Pretty
to
much.
even get to. That's
I
crazy.
mean, by the time I did the third and final application, it was like 6 months wait. Like not even really 6 months, because it was, like I said, August. It was in July or August when I did applied for the third time, and then I got it, and then like I said, the orientation wasn't until January. So
How old were you at this point?
2014. So I had to been. Dude, I don't know.
11 years ago.
Yeah, 11 years ago. So I'd have been like 22, turning 23.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I've been there ever since.
Okay, so wait, in this whole process, like the 6 months that you were waiting and applying, were you still working at Chick-fil-A?
Yeah, no, I was working at Farm Fresh.
Farm Fresh. Okay.
Yeah. One of my
Which, if you
next
don't know,
jobs.
Farm Fresh is no longer their
Yeah,
grocery
Farm Fresh
store.
does not exist. You know what that place is now?
What is it?
Publix. This is lit. It's right next to the house. I'm like, yo, this is lit.
We love Publix in this house.
Yeah, I know y'all do. I remember. But yeah, it's not open yet, but it's about to. So yeah, I'm like, oh wow, this is crazy. And it's been empty because when Farm Fresh went out of business, that was like 2016.
It was before the panini. No, it was after, because when I moved here 2018. It was still it still existed.
Farm Fresh.
Yes, but it was before the panini that it closed, or like that it was like all the stores were closing.
Wait, which Farm Fresh? Because at that point, Farm Fresh didn't exist. By that, Farm Fresh didn't exist. They would have like people bought the name specifically, but Farm Fresh itself didn't exist.
The Farm
as a
Fresh that
company.
was down here was still open because we
Yeah,
would get
but
fried
that wasn't
chicken.
actually Farm Fresh.
Really?
That was somebody's like personal.
I didn't know
Yeah, they
that.
bought the building. They was like, "Hey, we're gonna keep the name." Bought the name. I guess
Kept
whatever.
everything the same.
Yeah. 'Cause,
Another-
business wise, it makes sense.
Right. Yeah, just keep it as.
Is it still there? I don't know. They closed, right?
No. That date closed for sure.
Okay.
And then the last farm fresh that existed was, at least in our area, was the one that was by the bingo place, by the buffet place.
Yeah, both of those would have been like
owned by someone.
company.
Yeah.
Somebody was like, hey, I'm buying this building, I'm keeping the name up there, type thing. You know what I'm saying? Because the overall company gone.
Was gone already.
Yeah, already
wow.
gone. Yeah.
Okay. Random fact, but actually the majority of like actual business with grocery, or like the profit in grocery, is real estate.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Similar to McDonald's, run the same type of process. Anyways, sorry, that's just my fun grocery fact.
Yeah.
You learn random things from random jobs. But okay, back to like all of our mishmash of jobs prior to us actually having our quote unquote big kid jobs. Do you think, and this is just a fun opinion, Chiggy and I have talked about this way a long time ago, but I'm just curious of your opinions now. Do you think that, one, everyone should have or have experienced a customer service job? And or two, should everyone have experience working at a fast food place?
Fast food, no. I don't deem it necessary, but just so you get, like, customer service in general, just so you can be a little more personable as a person.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So more
yeah.
of you're not.
I feel like everyone should have
person.
like 6 months to a year working a POC, like, or a point of sale POS system. Yeah, POS system. I mean, where you're like, you have to face customers, happy, sad, angry. They want their coffee. They want whatever. Like, you need at least 6 months of that, so that you can kind of like learn how to bite your lip. You can learn how to, smile, grin through the pain.
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
I have noticed, like, I mean, did it really help me in my life now? I don't know. Maybe. I think just in general, like, because I'm the type of person, it's crazy, because when I'm on the ships or whatever, everybody, especially this last time, a lot of people have recognized me from, obviously, my channel and stuff like that, because I will talk about this or whatever. But I was like, dang, people really approach me a lot now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, okay, that sounds conceited, but people approach me often, and then I'm like, it's not a front. Like, this is who I am. You know what I'm saying? But I've learned that, like, who I am.
Do you
like,
have YouTuber personality?
Yeah. that YouTuber personality. So it's crazy. Like, when you just meet me, like, randomly, like, one off, you know what I'm saying? I put that face on. You know what I'm saying? It's not even so much a face, but I know I'm like, okay, this is a subscriber or somebody that watches my channel.
You're putting on a personable, approachable.
So when this is the first time ever, this last tour that I did was the first time I was on a ship where, like, I'm doing a physical, like, a whole tour. Yeah. With, like, actual subscribers. You know what I'm saying? So this time I remember I was on a ship, and then, I think one of the videos I posted not even that long ago, when I did an interview with somebody, and then it was the girl. She was a subscriber, right?
Oh, okay.
And then, so I think we did her whole tour or whatever on there. And first person, I guess she heard that I was going to the ship, whatever, so she was really excited and stuff like that. And then I remember the first thing she did, so I'm just now sitting down, right? I'm checking on board the ship, whatever. I think it's like my second day on board. I'm sitting down talking to some of the other people that I came on the ship with, and then I just see, like, a presence right here, right? And then I'm just sitting there, like, I'm sitting down. We're in the, I guess, the mess deck or
mess hall. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then I just see this person sitting right here, just looking at me, and I'm like, what the world? Yeah, literally, it was like that, literally like that. So I'm just like sitting there, I'm eating, I'm talking, and then I see my friend, he making a face, and I'm like, and then I just see this girl right here. She's like, I hope she ain't watching, but she was just, she was like, Mike, I just want to let you know you're my hero. Like, she was loud. Like, everybody in the mess deck.
She was gushing. She was
dude, and everybody in the mess deck the TVs were on, but it kind of like you can hear everybody just.
She made a statement.
Yeah, everybody just kind of like got quiet. I'm not a nervous type person because I don't care. I'm like, it is whatever.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, okay. You know what I'm saying?
Guys, we're in the presence of an influencer.
No. I wish I was making that kind of influencer money. You know what I'm saying? But no. So when she did that, I remember my friend was like, "What the heck?" You know what I'm saying? Because not everybody knows that I was doing it on there, right?
Oh,
I mean, there's
okay.
a handful of people that know.
Yeah.
But not everybody knows.
You're not out here being
Yeah. No, don't get me wrong. It'd be cool if I was like that. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody knew I was getting subscribers like that. That'd be lit. But in that little, like that pocket of that industry, I know I am known.
You have a very like niche.
Yeah, I'm
yes.
in that regard. Yeah. So like if I were to go to any other company, I'm pretty sure people would know. Because like some people would tell me on my videos, they'd be like, "Hey, I work for such and such company, whatever."
Right.
And I'm like,
adjacent
okay.
companies.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh, okay, cool. You know what I'm saying? And then, but yeah, I thought that was funny. And then a little bit more people.
You're my hero.
That one was insane, dude.
And
then, like me and my friend was talking about it for like a couple of days. She was like, she's like, he was like, "Oh, you're my hero." So I'm like, your hero is insane to say. Like, okay, maybe it was like you're my inspiration. That's one thing, but to be your hero was. I didn't care. I mean, I was like, oh, okay, cool, that's great. You know what I'm saying? And then we talked for a little bit. Then I let her go. And then, like throughout the rest of the tour, like we would talk, and she would tell me, she was like, hey, I want to have a one-on-one with you. Like, let's talk. And I'm like, okay. We talked about certain things. Yeah. And then there was another couple people that came on board. Like another one, I call him a kid, but he was like, he saw me and he was like, Mike, I can't believe you're standing in front of me right now, type deal. Like he was like, there's no way this is you standing in front of me. I'm like, what's up? And he was like, he was like, bro, I was just watching your videos like a couple days ago before I got on the ship. I was like, oh dang, yeah.
Thank you for watching.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Chicky, what are your thoughts on customer service, or like how should people get customer service jobs, or like what do you think? What are your thoughts on it?
Yes. Short answer, yes.
Care to explain?
Of course. I think everyone should have some type of customer service experience.
Yeah.
It's just a good skill to have, you know, wherever you go in the world.
Yeah.
Just have that type of customer service in any situation. Mm-hmm. It could just be like meeting someone randomly on the street, and you know they drop their watch or something. They drop something, you pick it up for them, you know, give it to them. Mm-hmm. They say thank you, you know, stuff like that, or you know, just holding the door for somebody, like
being a good person.
Etiquette. Yeah, being able to have general etiquette, you know.
But then some people in life nowadays are just like
not nice.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Like people don't have it's not as common to have common courtesy, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's just like, dude, who raised you? Like, I don't know. I think it's also more of a thing of how we were raised as kids and what we experienced in our life.
Yeah.
And I don't know. When you get older and you look back at these types of things, you're just like, I was raised right. And I don't understand why people don't get that type of training or that type of experience when they're young and they're going through school or going through their first job. Yeah. It's just like, dude, you have no common sense.
And I mean, like, I also just feel like not only is it a common sense thing or a common courtesy thing, it really just at least for me, it's like, can you be a good person? Generally speaking, can you be polite? Can you say please and thank you? Like, just very basic, simple things.
Basic, like, yeah.
That's a big one. No. In this generation, that's a big one.
No.
Well, you were. You were good at Chick-fil-A.
Oh, yeah, I was.
You was good.
My pleasure.
No, I was like on fire at Chick-fil-A. I ain't gonna lie. I was at Chick-fil-A. I was good at that. Yeah. So actually, customer service, if I wanted to put that on, like, I'm good. I can be really good. I hate it now, but I can be really good.
I mean, I think it's one of those things. and here's a really good real life example, which I feel like Chiggy makes fun of me for this a lot, but I have a very stereotypical phone voice.
Yeah.
So when I'm on the phone, especially if I'm talking to, confirming a hotel reservation. Confirm, like, doing it's not business, but it's business. And I'm trying to, and we joke and we say like, oh, that's your like proper voice, or oh, that's your, that's your phone voice. But generally it's because, number one, I'm trying to speak clearly on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
And then number two, I'm just trying to be polite. I don't want to come across as obnoxious or whatever. And again, just coming down to the basic, like, can you be a good person? Can you say please and thank you? Can you be polite? Can you be courteous? In the most basic of forms, I think. So, but
common life etiquette.
Yeah. Not as common as it used to be. That's for sure.
Phone etiquette. Oh, my phone game is crazy.
What do you mean by that?
Like, no, I mean, in like, if I have to talk anything, like you just said, like if it's business or if it's just kind of like a hotel reservation, anytime I have to be on the phone about almost anything, unless it's somebody that I actually know, like actually know, like I can put on a show. Like, and it'd be
AKA, I can put on a mask. No,
I can put. It's not even so much a mask. It's a peak. It's like as soon as I hear that voice, I'm like, okay, you know what I'm saying. I know what to do, how to speak, all that. It sounds like, oh, that's a basic trait, but some people don't know how to do that. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, whoa, who raised you? Like, what, like really, like, where did you learn to live like this?
That's so bad.
Nah, what I think is wild nowadays is how people don't have like the critical thinking skills to get through like a situation. Like, say a irate customer comes up to them and they're like yelling at the top of their lungs at them, and they get so triggered that they snap at them. It's just like you can't critically think and try to calm the customer down
or solve the problem. Yeah.
Critical thinking skills is not common.
It's not.
Like, be a lot of not anymore. Shoot, even I can get like, I don't know, like certain situations. Okay, I understand if you're gonna, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? But like I have been in certain situations like that, but I don't. Even then, when I'm like, even if I'm like seeing red, I still know. Okay, you still got to be professional at least. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Now I can be not nice professionally though. Like, especially when it comes to like my email game. Oh my god!
Per my last email.
Yeah, dude, I can go in, and I know how to like trigger things. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not gonna go into it, but like I am gonna go into it. I don't care. But so one of my last ones before I came home last year. Yeah, before I came home last year. So for me to get off the ship, technically I shouldn't even say this, but I don't care. For me to get off the ship, I was like, I have to 107, which is like medically non-fit. You know what I'm saying? And at that time I had just found out I got the promotion.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, I got the promotion. I'm permanent now, so I want to be in that position, but that ship doesn't have that position right now available. Okay. So I'm like, I want to go home, and I'm already, and my date wasn't for like another month, but I know the ship didn't need me. You know what I'm saying? I'm not necessarily on the ship because the ship was, how do I call it? It was ROS status, which is ready or some reserve status. I don't know exactly what it stands for, but it's pretty much, it's not active.
Okay.
So they didn't need me, right? So I'm getting off the ship. I'm like, okay, I want to get off, blah, blah. So I was like, I have to medically non-fit. So I went to go get all my paperwork and everything. Went to go to the doctor. It was like, hey, my back hurts. You know what I'm saying? I was like, I fell, which I actually did fall. And there was a witness to the fall. So I was like, yes. So I was like, what happened?
All my ducks are lining up.
Yeah, I was like, this is lining up. And then I went to the doctor, got everything, whatever. I had to pay money. I was like, okay, I need you to say this and this, pretty much. And then he was like, oh, okay. He did it, signed off on it, whatever. Came back, gave it to my chief mate or supervisor of the ship. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And then he pretty was like, no, this is bullcrap or whatever. Crumpled up, threw it out. And I was like, definitely can't do that. So I started doing emails. And man, when I say my email game is outrageous, I'm not going to look for it, but I just knew because I remember the second mate, which is another officer, you know what I'm saying? I showed him this is the email. I was like, hey, this is what I sent. And he was like, who taught you to write emails like this? You know what I'm saying? He was like, where did you learn how to do this? And I'm like, my brain. I was like, my brain. I know like what to say in certain situations.
Yeah.
And then I was like, to get a reaction. You know what I'm saying? Because you can send an email, especially with the government, you can send an email and they're not going to, it was like, oh, we're just going to ignore this. But if you say certain things, they're like, well, we can't leave this open because we have to respond to this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, man, I had them. And then when they was telling me, it was like, oh, yeah, you still have to get the supervisor. I was like, okay, but the supervisor is telling me that there's nothing he can do, blah, or whatever.
He done
whatever
crumbled my doctor's note.
Pretty much, yeah. And then I guess what I think really happened, me and my friend was talking about it. He was like, what probably happened, the person that's actually in charge of this specific branch of whatever, he probably wasn't in. So when he came in the next day and saw all the emails, he was like, yeah, get this guy off the ship now.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, you need to get him off the ship before we have a lawsuit.
Don't make this into a problem.
Yeah. Because what I said, I was like, this is going to be a liability and it's going to be a lawsuit. Because what I was saying, and then, oh my gosh. Yeah, so what I pretty much was like, the gist of it was, hey, I hurt myself. The doctor's saying I need to get off the ship.
Yeah.
You're telling me to not take advice of the doctor. You're telling it on my behalf.
Right.
You're not taking advice from a medical professional on my behalf. So if something happens to me that makes it worse in this while I'm still on board, you're liable to pay me, and you're acknowledging that you have to pay me if something happens. Yeah. So it was pretty much to that effect.
Yeah.
And then
this is more than just workers' comp now.
Now this is beyond workers' comp. Yeah. Now I'm like, hey, I can hit you for like mills now. You know what I'm saying? So it was. I'm assuming whoever came in the next day and they read it was like, yeah, send them a ticket. Because I literally the next day, so that day when I sent all the emails, they responded whatever. Then they left me alone, and then the day after that, I got itinerary, like flight itinerary. I got everything.
Everything was good
because they was already telling me no, we're not doing it, whatever. It was like no. So I'm in my head. I was like, oh, I guess it's a no. It is what it is. The next day, I had a flight itinerary. I had everything.
Your tickets were good. Everything was set.
Good. Like it was insane. Actually, well, it wasn't insane. I knew it was gonna happen, but it was still cool though.
Right.
I was like, oh, my email game is email game on fleek right now. I was like, I know what I'm doing. That was
Yeah, and there's definitely I'm learning. So I for the last, how long have I been working where I work at? 5 years.
5 years, yeah.
For the last 5 years, I've worn rose-tinted glasses thinking that I can just write emails and it'll be straightforward and I can say thank you and people will say you're welcome and everything will be nice and dandy. And then I started working with people who are not like that. And so I would say within the last 2 years or so, it's definitely been a very high learning curve on my part because I wanted to believe and think that the world was going to be kind to me because it's an email, it's in writing, I'm going to have this forever. So if you say something wrong, I'm going to have this forever. Unfortunately, that's not how it is. And so similar to what Mikey's talking about, I've definitely learned some, I guess, not just like to get a reaction, but just like ways to say things to be like, actually, it's like, wait a minute. I'm definitely not perfect at it, but I think it's one of those skills that you learn after a couple of bad experiences.
That's when for me, that was like, okay, so a couple things happened. I was like, this was messed up. Like, why did this happen? And then I was like, no, this isn't happening never again. Right. You know what I'm saying? So first time I've tested waters a little bit. I was like, I don't think I'm gonna do this because it doesn't make any sense. Like just something, you know what I'm saying? And then I'd get a reaction, but I'm like, okay, so if you just this is my career. I do what I want. You know what I'm saying? I was like, my body, my choice at this point. You know what I'm saying? You can't make me go anywhere. I mean, because, okay, the reason I said that is because in especially with my company,
Right.
you don't really have control where you go.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, okay, I may not have any control where I go, but I'm gonna control when I'm gonna go.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because they a lot for the longest. My company, I don't care, it's MSC. It doesn't matter. MSC, they would give you like pretty much no time off. You know what I'm saying? You'll get the 30 days.
Yeah.
And that's it.
That
you know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter if you're on a ship for 2 years straight. They're gonna give you 30 days off. You better bring yourself back. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I learned earlier on that was like, because one of the officers, he was telling me, was like, no, this is your career. You tell them what you want to do.
Yeah.
And then if they get upset, they get upset. It is what it is. You're a government employee. They're not going to fire you. So,
Right.
And I was like, as soon as he said that, like something clicked in my head, and I was like, cool. So then after I got off that tour, that was 2017, went home, did my regular 30 days that they gave me. And then I was like, yeah, I'm not coming back. But that was like, let me find something medical to say. And then I did the medical thing like 2 times. So I was like, hey, I got a dental appointment, but I put it for like the next month or something like that. So I'd be home for an extra month or something like that, and then I leave. Then it turned into like, no, I'm gonna take time. You know what I'm saying? I was like, let's see what happens if I just don't show up. And then it turned to like, first is like 3-4 months. Then once, like, especially after I bought my like second house, that's when I was like, yeah, I'm taking time off. I'm gonna do what I want. And then yeah, it turned to like 5-6 months off. Like, I'm not going back to work. You know what I'm saying? I went, especially after 2020, when I got home 2021, because I got on the ship March 2020 or February 2020, and I got home March 2021. So I was for a year and a month overseas, right? And I was like, yeah, I'm not coming back. You know what I'm saying? I was like, no, that's it. I was gone for a year and a month. I'm not going back to work. And then yeah, I just didn't come back. I was like, that was the worst that happened. We get fired. You know what I'm saying? And then, but mind you, this was during Miss Panini. Yeah. So I mean, I'm pretty sure I was falling through the wayside. They weren't really worried about me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But
there was also just a lot of things.
Yeah, there was a lot of things going on. I mean, don't get me wrong. They were telling me to come back, but I was like, I'm not coming back. Especially since, and there was during a time when like job security wasn't so secure at the time, because obviously I didn't take the, and then there was a point where there was like, yeah, if you didn't take it, you didn't have a job.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
But it wasn't, that was for like most government employees, but it wasn't technically for us. But I knew if I were to get back on a ship, I might not be able to get off. Like we're in different ports, I'll be stuck while everybody else gets to get off. I'll be stuck.
Right.
And then when they told me like, oh, that's not the case anymore, blah blah blah, I was like, okay, cool. But that's 2022. I remember I was on a ship in 2022, beginning of it, and it just happened to be at home. So I was like, this is great. And then when I had to get off that same year, I was only up there for like a couple months, and then it was like, yeah, the ship's going to a shipyard. And then I was like, okay, that sucks, because I love this ship.
Yeah.
But I was like, it is what it is. So I checked back into the pool, and then they put me on another ship that was going overseas. Okay. Mind you, I didn't know it was going overseas. That's one. And B, I didn't know they had a stipulation. If it goes overseas, you can't get off the ship. If you didn't have you couldn't get off the ship. I didn't know that stipulation at the time. And there was like a handful of us that didn't know. Yeah. So, and they didn't tell us until after we left America.
Stop.
Yeah, it was crazy. So when we got into the first port, in Spain, it was Spain.
Okay.
When we got to Spain, it was like the day before we pulled in, it was like, they called all of us in. We're like, what's going on? And then it was like, yeah, you guys can't leave the ship. Everybody that's in this room, you can't leave the ship. And we're like, whoa, what? Like, you guys did this on purpose. Yeah, like, there's no way you didn't know that this was the case.
It was like what is it called? It's not called a white lie, but it's like, instead of, they're not lying to you, but they're withholding the truth.
Withholding information. Because if we knew,
y'all would be there.
We wouldn't. Yeah, I was like, I'm gonna get off the ship.
Right. You know yeah.
But yeah, they got us. But then it was, like I said, the first port we couldn't get off. The second port, the chief mate and the navigator, they fought. It was like, because they both also didn't take it, so they fought. It was like, yeah, no, like we should be able to get some kind of liberty. You know what I'm saying? So eventually we was able, okay, just base liberty. Like you can go
Okay.
to the base and back, but you
Yeah.
can't go out in town. And then I think they fought a little bit more. Then we officially got like full liberty, but it took like a couple ports. So everybody was leaving, doing what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
And we was all just stuck on a ship, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Without any pay. That was the part that was crazy. It was like, nah, this is technically restrictive pay. Like you're
Right,
restricting us.
Yeah, yeah.
But they was like, nah, you're not getting paid for this. Whatever, whatever. And I was like, that's insane.
It is.
And then eventually they let us go. And that was awesome.
Yeah.
Like after that I got lit. that was when I still drank, so I was lit. Outrageous.
I will say, for context, only because I was stateside when all this was happening.
Yeah.
But during that time when they were trying to figure out government employees, you all have to get the immunization. Oh wait, no, you don't, because you have the exercise. You can exercise your right to not to.
Yeah.
Oh, but you do, but you don't, and all this stuff. So how they ended up doing it, and I mean, it seems like all this process was happening as you're going through your
Yeah.
overseas tour too. Was it started out as like, okay, well, if you don't have it, you have to stay home, like, because we would go back into the office once a week.
Yeah.
Then that turned into, well, you have to take a test
Like every
every
week
time or every week or whatever.
I
Then you
remember
come
that.
in, because if you test even like half of a positive, don't come in. Like,
Yeah.
no, don't risk it. This is that, the other. And then that turned into, because of like different RAs and different exemptions or whatever. So they're just like, okay, well, whenever you know that you're going to go into the office, 2 days before you have to take a test.
Yeah.
So whatever people's individual schedules, because that's the thing, they couldn't keep track.
Yeah.
So they're like, okay, whatever your individual schedule is, take a test 2 days before you come in. So if you come in Wednesday, take a test on Monday. If you're good, then you're good.
Yeah.
That was it. So, and I'm assuming it was not necessarily the exact same, but like it's a similar process of like they were trying to figure it out essentially, because there was no guide. Like, how can you make guidance for something you don't know about?
Yeah.
So it was just like, okay, but that's crazy to me that like even your officers were fighting about it.
Yeah, it was like, all right, nah, because I remember my friend, he was the chief mate on the ship.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, yeah, we like hurt him and the navigator. It was like, yeah, we really put our jobs on the line. Like,
Yeah.
we could have got fired for this, like, because they was going in on the whoever it was going in on base.
Right,
and
right.
mind you, these are like, I mean, they're officers, but like they're important. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
if they were to just get fired, like that would have been crazy, you know. So it was a crazy time. But then, like I said, eventually they let us free, and we could do whatever we wanted. And then obviously I took full advantage of that. Like we had.
Well, it was always just that like
fun,
at
yeah.
your risk, right?
Yeah, it was like we had fun after that, and then that was a crazy tour actually. That was a tour I'd spent $10,000 on one night. That was insane. Yeah, that was
That's
insane.
ridiculous.
Yeah, that was my last day. That was insane actually. I don't even want to bring it up. Well, I already brought it up, but it was just an insane time. Insane time, dude. Insane time.
If anything, it will be a future podcast episode. How about that? But anyways, before we wrap up, do we have any final thoughts? I know we kind of were going off.
Veered way off.
I was
what
gonna say
was
we
the
veered off
topic.
the rails, but also that's kind of just how conversation goes,
Yeah.
right? Like, and
Why? No, we was on topic.
we were talking about
First jobs.
and careers.
We were talking about careers and then how we got to where we are now.
Right, yeah.
We stayed on topic.
But also, it's the thing of everyone. So as you can see, we all have very vastly different careers, but also just how we got to our careers was also very vastly different. So, all that to say, Chiggy, do you have any final thoughts or reminders, concerns, questions, advice?
I mean, I would like to do a future episode on the panini.
You know what? Honestly, we probably should. Like, our experiences through the panini, that'd be crazy.
Really?
We haven't talked about it.
Loved that time.
Yeah, it was great.
You loved it?
Yes.
We got to stay
Wait
home,
for
bro.
me.
Yeah, we got to
Oh.
stay home. You're talking to two homebodies, so.
Yeah. It wasn't so much. It wasn't even so much that we was stuck. It was more of like the whole situation for me was ridiculous.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
but like for you, you were stuck on a ship.
Yeah.
Like none of your belongings.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I was stuck at home with all of my belongings and no one here. You know what I'm
Facts.
saying?
Yeah. Facts.
So it was a
Yeah.
great time for me.
Also, isn't it crazy? That was 5 years ago. Feels like a fever dream.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I think, I mean, I don't know. Y'all let us know down below. Is that something you'd want to listen to? It's definitely something we could probably talk a lot about.
Facts.
Just for, like I said, our individual experiences through it.
Man, regardless if you want to hear it, you're gonna hear it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But any final thoughts on jobs and or careers and or your experiences?
So, I mean, other than that, like, my experiences now kind of suck.
Well,
That's at the like literal present moment, but before you had to do what you got to do now, how'd you feel about it?
Before I was like, oh, I got all the prerequisites to do this. You know, I'm very positive about doing like training like for other people and
Yeah.
all that, and I was like ready to do it. And then
Such an
now that I'm in,
optimistic
I'm just
outlook.
like, why am I here?
Facts.
oh, that's so funny.
Having to train is always draining sometimes.
It can be rewarding if you have the right type of student, but if you don't, it can be very draining for sure.
For sure.
What about you, Mikey? Any questions, comments, concerns?
No.
Then we'll finally turn it back to Ami. Any last thoughts?
As much as this episode maybe went in a more unique direction than I think we anticipated, I think one of the things that I want to impress, or the kind of theme that we've all talked about individually, but also just as a general, is that where you think you're going to go is definitely not where you're going to go. And even if it is, you tend to go off the rails and on the wayside, both intentionally and unintentionally. But that's not to say that you can't get to your end goal, because I know for a fact, especially for Chiggy and I, it took us a while, or longer than we anticipated in our, when you're younger and you're in high school, you're like, oh, here's my 5 and 10 year plan.
Yeah.
And that's not at all what happened.
Facts.
Facts. But I want to impress upon you guys that's not only is that completely okay, that's what should be expected, is that you can make a plan, you can hope for the plan to work, but if it doesn't work, that's not a bad thing, and it's not your fault either. Do your best, always work hard, strive to move to the next thing. Like, don't let your ambition slide, but at the same time, don't beat yourself up just because you didn't get it the first time, the second time, or even the third time.
Shoot, even when you do officially get it, because technically I got the job 10 years ago. I'm just now getting to where
you want to be. Yeah,
it's
facts.
insane, actually. Now, don't get me wrong, I did like mess around a lot, but
you were young and
yeah, but still, I'm just now getting to where, like, okay, I'm doing what I got to be doing now. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't end when you finally get the job.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the thing, your ambitions and your goals and your dreams should always change as your life changes. That's not to say to like burden yourself with the rat race. Absolutely not. Be grateful and content with where you are, but also if you have a vision for where you want to be, strive for that, and know that the way you get there will probably be the most unexpected way, but that's just generally how life goes.
Facts.
Yeah. Mikey, did you have fun on the BunsoBytes podcast?
Yeah, this was fun. I'm definitely going to be here again.
Okay, good. I'm glad. We definitely want you back. Again, we will tag and link all of Mikey's socials down below. To any of Mikey's followers, if you guys are listening, welcome. This is BunsoBytes, a podcast with Chiggy and I, and we just we started this as a passion project, and we're really, really excited about it. So we hope you guys stick around. And that being said, we hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll see y'all next time. Bye.